This week on the podcast, I was in San Antonio and some ROH shows on the East Coast, but really, it's a winding down of an era. Enjoy it? Question mark?
This is the Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on in, sit down, relax. You're about to listen to the Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast. It's a live podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway into the minds, the souls, the hearts, and the lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I am your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I am a podcaster for a little bit longer going on here. I'm definitely a comedian in some sorts, especially at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I'm a man with feelings, and those feelings were tugged on a little bit this week. Most importantly, though, and of course moving forward, I am a professional wrestler, and I am sitting here live in my studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. I guess we don't really need you to spread the word. The thing's kind of coming to an end. You can still, of course, go to ColtMerch.com and DigitalColt.com. That will forever be open. T-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, the Wrestling Road Diaries movies that I'm so proud of, action figures, micro brawlers, children's books. It's all, that's where it is. ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. What an outpour for the podcast this week. It really tugged on my heartstrings a little bit. Is that a phrase? It could be a Cabanaism, I'm not sure. Or it could be real. That one sounded real. Just an outpour of people supporting and over the years. And, I know people like the original interview style, 7.5 years worth or 8 years worth or whatever it was. I have enjoyed doing the past year and a half. I really have. But I know what this sucker was built on. And it was those talks, those individual talks with everybody that I, for a long time, really, really, really enjoyed and loved and still do. I could not do it every single week. I just couldn't. I talked to everyone, not everyone. There's 2 people on this podcast this week that I essentially should have had on the regular one, but didn't, and they'll be on this week. And now I lost my train of thought. Not even going to edit it out. We'll keep that in. Basically, I love it. I loved it. I still love it. It's time to move on a little bit. It will live in a Patreon. The Patreon is now up. Colt Cabana, patreon.com/Colt Cabana. The archives will sit there. $4. As long as you want to stay on, you can. I will probably be throwing up so many goodies. For $5, you get the archives and the goodies, which will include past premium stuff moving forward, stuff from the Fringe, maybe even this style, which is no guests. Also, Marty DeRosa and I are going to do a quarterly podcast of us just podcasting together about certain wrestling subjects. Colt and Marty talk wrestling. And I'm sure more goodies, probably more than worth the $5, but that's the point. I don't want to make it too much. I don't want to put the pressure on me. That's the whole point. I don't want to put the pressure on me. So have it all for $5, and then if it's too much content for the price point, well, then I'm the one that's fucked. That's how it will work. Next week, I'm doing this super show up in Duluth, Minnesota, heavy on wrestling. So the plan is to use that to promote the Edinburgh Fringe Festival podcasts and the shows. Hopefully talk about embarrassing moments seen or have been in. And then the next 4 weeks after that will be the Fringe shows. And then, like I said, we'll do some live ones throughout the year. And maybe some projects will come on. Please stay subscribed to this podcast feed. You never know. Okay, I did go down to San Antonio, Texas. I wrestled for RCW. I've been loving wrestling for RCW. They've had me on about 4 shows this year. I've had such a great time. Hot Stuff Hernandez is always down there. I don't think that's his name anymore. When I first met him in 2003 in Queens, New York for Ring of Honor, when he drove up with Rudy Boy Gonzalez and the rest of the crew, that's what he was known as, Hot Stuff Hernandez. Now I think he's just Hernandez. But I did know this, Tully Blanchard, 4 Horsemen member, the King of San Antonio. Now, before we get into this, I did choose the absolute worst time to talk to him is the beginning of a show, an outside show at a horse track where there aren't many barriers. So you get to hear the whole thing. You get to hear the starting of a wrestling show and me talking to Tully Blanchard, who just from talking a little bit in this segment, I was like, oh man, a full sit down would be great with him. And I have said on the Patreon, if I get 500 people to sign up for the Patreon, I will do some full old school Art of Wrestling podcasts for the Patreon listener. Hopefully that happens, and hopefully Tully Blanchard will be one of them. If not, he's one of them right now as we talk a little San Antonio wrestling. So obviously my travels find me in San Antonio.
Well, it's welcome to the Alamo City, and I used to really enjoy going to Chicago.
Is that right?
Absolutely. Chicago was a horseman town.
Robert Gibson used to tell me that they would, see, I take the train, and Robert Gibson would say that they used to take the train from O'Hare to the UIC Pavilion. You wouldn't take it. Rick would have a limo set up for you, right?
We had limos.
That was an awful question, baby.
We had limos, and we stayed at the Bismarck Hotel. We had the penthouse suites, the whole top floor. So that was.
Were you paying for that, or is like Rick? Like I'll take care of this.
No. It was the people that owned the Bismarck Hotel, the Wirtz family. Rick.
Oh, sure, the Wirtz.
Rick went to prep school with Bruce MacArthur.
Of course, Ric Flair went to prep school, right?
Absolutely.
I know my wrestling a little bit, but I mean, this is where you started, where your family had a promotion, right?
Right.
Maybe some history of San Antonio wrestling that some of the young folks wouldn't know?
Well, a lot of people don't know the fact that Southwest Championship Wrestling, which was mine and my dad's company, we produced the first wrestling show that went on the USA Cable Network.
Is that right?
And so that was how wrestling got on USA. And that was back when they wanted to be a garden network. And then it was pretty costly, and we were on there for a while, and then just a small promotion, small territory. You couldn't pay that bill and pay wrestlers and keep business going, and it was so we that's when Vince went and paid the bill and got the USA Network.
What was the local place that you guys wrestled at?
We wrestled first at the Municipal Auditorium.
Which holds what?
About 5,000 people.
And is that weekly?
Yes, we ran every week. And then we ran, they remodeled, so the whole inside got remodeled, and we ran at the Hemisphere Arena where the Spurs played, and then we moved from that into one of the exhibition halls because it's set up better, and you didn't need an 18,000 seat arena with 5,000 people in it. It's set up better in one of the exhibition halls, and then we started doing our TV show. We bought a grocery store, and we could do TV with about 400 people on three sides. So it was like a studio show, but yet had an and that's where we did our TV show.
Were they getting in free every day?
No.
For studio wrestling?
No. They didn't have to pay a lot. I think we charged them $2 or something.
Right.
But it's people appreciate something that they pay for a little bit more, and we did that, and business was good for a while, and then the TV thing that we've already talked about went down and caused business to go down. And
you saw a whole change in San Antonio from that, huh?
Oh, absolutely, because we had a territory, and then you couldn't afford to pay the crew because all your money was paying $7,000 a week's a lot of money for TV.
People don't think about those production costs, do they?
Plus production costs. That was just to be on.
Oh, gotcha.
That was production on top of that, and then producing. We were on. I think we were on like 15 different markets in South Texas, and so it was a pretty big deal. And then that's when I went to North Carolina and went to work for Crockett and WCW and the Horseman era. And
now, before we talk about how you turned heel as a promoter's son, but who was the most fiery San Antonio loved babyface by the local people here in San Antonio? Like homebred, right?
We had Ricky Morton was here for a while. Him and Robert Gibson wasn't his partner at that time.
What about like San Antonio's own that came up through the ranks?
We really didn't have anybody like that. Jose Lothario was a huge star. I never got to wrestle Jose. I did wrestle Mil Mascaras and El Santo when they came up from Mexico, which were monster. Gino Hernandez and I were tag team partners for a while. Then when he switched babyface, that was pretty monster. But it was, I mean, if it was a homegrown, I was probably as close to being the homegrown guy, and then I went and switched heel. So it was, and then Wahoo McDaniels, because he was a Texas boy from Midland, and I wrestled him for a couple of years here. That was an education in itself.
And then you're here at a show in San Antonio. You can hear the announcer behind us announcing. You're still making it out to the shows, enjoy watching the wrestling, or just being around the wrestling maybe a little bit?
I am just now starting to get back because of Shawn and AEW, and my daughter when she comes in. That's really my only involvement, unless somebody invites me to come and do an autograph show or something like that. But usually I don't do the shows at the autograph shows.
Right.
But
when you see him in the ring, you're like, oh shit, I remember that. Like, does it bring a little something back to your heart, or you're like, ugh, I'm over that?
Well, no, I tell you, my biggest issue is I was a very, very big personal critic. You didn't do that right. You could have done this if I ever watched one of my matches. In the ring, I was a critic because the audience reaction dictated to me. And so when I watch television today, whatever the product is, God, that should have been done different. That should have been done different. That should have been okay. That looked okay. That was pretty good. Oh, that was bad. And so, why torture yourself? I was sitting at home one time, flipping channels back and forth to see something on Monday Night Raw, and I'm going, why torture yourself?
And because you can't turn it off, right? That's how your brain's wired.
Yeah. And that's the way I got the success that I did, was critiquing myself, not ever settling for, oh, that was a good thing, or that was great, because I was raised, something can always be better, something can be improved on, even a little thing, and so I quit watching.
Well, hopefully you and Shawn are gonna do some cool stuff. And
I'm interested. I don't know the future, but the little bit of time that I've been around Shawn, back in Jacksonville a couple weeks ago, and then today, he and I went to the gym together and ate and talked. I think that there's a lot of potential.
I'd call him a good hand, but he doesn't want to be called that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the last guy that called him a good hand got hit with a chair.
Right. So he's just good. He's good. Yeah, you'll enjoy it. Well, thanks for inviting me into San Antonio.
Well, bless you. I'm excited to watch you.
Yeah, it should be good. What I like about him is, right, he is nothing to protect or to gain or to lose. He's, whatever. He's just whatever. So he speaks his mind. It's kind of fun. He was fun to be around. And we were around him all night, joking around, having a good time. I before the show, it was me, Spears, and Tully, and we were just kind of talking. And over the loud system, Old Town Road started playing, which is the biggest hit of all time, the number one song of all time, I think, maybe. If not, it's been on the radio and on everything for the past 4 months. In my head, everybody knows this song. And then I'm looking over at Tully in his 70s or whatever, and I go, hey, Tully, do you know what this song is? have you ever heard this song before? And he goes, no. And I popped Spears pretty good with that one. And also myself. And we'll see if, I'm not going to pop Shawn Spears right now, but I just wrestled him in real time when I'm talking with him. He's leaving. He's going to go out to eat with Tully Blanchard. They're going to put a game plan together against Cody. So here's Spears and I talking about right after our match. Well, Shawn, it's coming to an end. This podcast. You were supposed to be on it.
What a crock of shit.
You were. The goal. You were supposed to be on it. I asked you once.
Get my curse because that's how upset I am that it's taken this long to get on. There were reasons. I get it.
Right. I tried to get you on, and then you got signed.
You did. My bad. Yeah, you're right. You did try.
You were like, I'd rather not, and try to make a living.
How dare you speak that blasphemy?
But you know that you were on the... See, my mindset's a little different because now I'm winding down. I can't do it anymore. But when I was like getting guys, my buddies, stories I wanted out there, you were one of them.
And I appreciate that. But I hope you know, like, it is unfortunate that it's winding down. I mean, you put in years of work, and I mean this sincerely while I'm sitting here looking at you. Like, you put in a ton of work. You've shared a lot of guys' story that may have never seen the light of day. That's
yours was supposed to be one of them, but because the whole point was to get sympathy, was for people to like these people.
Yeah, but you did that. You did a hell of a job for people.
But I'm saying you did it for yourself, where you became the underdog. That was the whole point of my podcast. Is people finally were like, yeah, this guy rules, and we like him. They just never really heard your story.
It took a while. Luckily, some things did work out. There was a couple dark times, and it would have made for a great full-length, maybe even a part 2 type podcast. Because part 1 would definitely just be about our history and the fun that we used to have back in the day.
But better than sitting in Puerto Rico wanting to probably take your own life.
Oh my God! The Dahlia, I believe it was called. The Dahlia was the hotel. I could be wrong, but if those walls could talk.
You at least stayed at a hotel.
Half of one.
How long were you there?
Total in Puerto Rico, 9 months maybe.
And you stayed at a hotel the whole 9 months?
I would travel back and forth for a couple of weeks back to where I was living at the time. But yeah, I lived in half of a hotel for about 9 months, man. PR, Puerto Rico, brother.
And now you've got a house.
I bought a house. I live in Florida. This Canadian boy from cut his teeth in good old Louisville, Kentucky, Shepherdsville Road, now has a house in Florida. You are still in Chicago.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're not living in a half a hotel. You have your own house.
I have a 1-story house. I don't like stairs. Yeah, absolutely, yes. And I'm very...
That's the grizzled vet in you.
Dude, 18 years too long.
Well, it's turning out well for you. I mean, so we're in San Antonio. You wrestled a real handsome wrestler tonight.
I did. I haven't wrestled him I haven't even really seen him in probably about, 8-9 years? Maybe it's been a while.
I saw you at StarCast.
Well, I don't count that because it was a quick hi, goodbye. But yes, I did wrestle a handsome boom Colt Cabana tonight, and it was an absolute pleasure, as it always has been for years.
Pleasure's all mine. I always say my 2 favorite heels are you and Scrap Iron Adam Pearce to wrestle, although I was a baddie tonight.
There's a new heel on the scene, guys, and if you guys haven't checked out a heel boom Cabana, it is a sight to see.
That's why I'm stopping the podcast, because a podcast I'm a babyface, so I'm just...
Sorry. Well, don't cut this part out. I might have teabagged him tonight and yelled that out, and then he fed in for more. So,
I'm glad you noticed that. I turned my body.
You made me really uncomfortable, so I completely moved the spot.
Well, you and Tully are doing cool stuff. You and Jim Ross did that interview.
Yes.
So stuff's happening. It's very fun. And I'm excited for you to get the due that you deserve. And good times looking forward for you, my friend.
That means a lot to me. I know you've always been, I'm a
cheerleader of yours.
I was about to say, you've always been one of my biggest supporters, and that feeling is beyond mutual, my friend. So the pleasure's been all mine, and I can't wait to see what you do next. I know you'll do something next.
The following contest.
Male porn. And I was a bad guy. Just a real silly, goofy, goofball bad guy. Which I kind of feel bad. I mean, I'm not telling people to go fuck themselves or anything, but sometimes I'm like, oh man, I bet I got some fans out here, and I'm being a real meanie to them. All in good fun and good jest, though. Speaking of good fun, BlueChew.com. Friends, do you remember the days when you were always ready to go? Sex. I'm talking about sex here. Wrestlers have sex. Wrestling fans have sex. That's why this is an appropriate sponsor. With BlueChew.com, you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. BlueChew.com brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. Take them anytime, day or night, even with a full stomach. Since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever the opportunity arises. The pun was definitely intended on that one. I did not write this script. It's prescribed online and ships right to your door in a discreet package, so there's no in-person doctor visits, no waiting in the pharmacy. Basically, there's no awkwardness. Blue Chew, it's made in America, and since Blue Chew ships direct, it's cheaper than a pharmacy. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment for free. When you use the promo code COLT, just pay $5 for shipping. That's BLUECHEW.com. The promo code is COLT, and you can try it for free. The Blue Chew, that is. I don't know how much the sex costs. After San Antonio, I flew to Newark, grabbed a car. We drove to the Hammerstein Ballroom. I did New York City. The next day, we did Boston, Massachusetts. And I've said this before with Ring of Honor. It's just, it's kind of the same team, so it kind of gets repetitive. I didn't necessarily break down what happened. I did some commentary. That was about it. I did some commentary. But I thought I would say goodbye to some friends, one of which, Jay Lethal, refuses to come on the show. And in perfect spirit with this way I've been doing it, for some reason, it's feedback of some sort. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I put the phone on airplane mode. I have this really nice microphone that connects to the phone, but it's the phone. So I put it on airplane mode. This one I forgot, and there's some feedback in there every now and then. It doesn't ruin it. It's only in a couple spots, but it's like, what the fuck, man? It just sums up audio. It's so, you think you're going to get it perfect every time. And if you go back and you listen to some of the archives, some of the audio is real shit. But, in the later years, I made up for it. I figured out what I was doing. I did an interview for ProWrestling.net, and the guy asked me, like, oh, what would you tell yourself 10 years ago? And I would say, listen to the people who wanted to help you with your audio in the beginning. And you were just like, no, I don't have to listen to you. I'll do it my own way, which has been my problem my whole life. I'm like, I don't want any help. I should probably get some help. If any of you guys want to help me, especially with this Patreon, I don't even know what to put on there. If there's something I'm doing wrong, help me out. Help me, please. Be a friend. A friend in need is a help indeed. I'm not going to edit that either. Speaking of friends, here's not Jay Lethal, Ian Riccaboni, and Todd Sinclair.
This is somber. I can't believe
Come here. That's why this has to be on here.
It's Saturday.
You're not even on there when you say that. Jay.
I don't want you to do that.
Jay. You're needed.
Jay.
What'd you say? You said it was what? What was the adjective you used?
I don't want to do it.
Todd.
Yes. Jay doesn't want to do it.
Jay, he's visually upset and literally left our circle.
Yeah, he
here.
went down the hall. He left. I don't know. He doesn't want to do this. He's very sad with the podcast ending, and I can say I am too.
Well, you guys are all three of you were big supporters of mine and always appreciate it. And now Jay can't be bothered, but just saying this will be the last time you'll ever be on. Fuck all of you. Goodbye, Ian.
Goodbye, Colt. I'll see you at least twice a month everywhere we go, but I will not see you every Thursday morning. I downloaded it, so.
One of my favorites of the very new podcast that I did was catching Ian's laugh in audio content. Not his laugh, his hysterics on the most kiddie Disneyland ride ever.
That was Disney World. It was Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and it's something different happens in Disney World. It's the same feeling when you go to wrestling. Like you feel like a kid, and I remember going to Disney World with my dad, being on that ride, and then we were sitting next together. I thought of my kids, and
he was Mickey Mouse. And Todd, there's some good memories with you.
Yeah.
I don't know any of them.
Well, no, I'll tell you one, and then you'll know it exactly. Because the most feedback I got from your podcast was they enjoyed when I picked you up at the airport and we were going to be late, and it was killing me because I do not want to ever be late in my life. And you put it right out on there for everybody to hear. And I actually got a lot of, like, Todd Sinclair is very entertaining because I hope he's late every time.
I thought they were going to relate to you.
No.
They enjoyed your panic.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is mainly probably Bobby Cruz enjoying your panic.
Yeah,
he probably hopes you're late every time.
No, he wants me to show up at 7 o'clock for a 7 o'clock show.
Well, all right. I'm glad that I don't have to bother you guys anymore at these shows. I hope it never felt like a bother.
No.
Never bother. And
Never
I
at all.
showed you on my phone. I've listened to every single podcast. I have 2 left that I haven't listened to just because I haven't gotten to them yet. But I've listened to every single episode.
Well, Todd, you should join the Patreon.
Well, how much? $4?
$4 for the archives. $5, I'll put some stuff out. And then every time we record, I'll give you your Patreon money back because you'll be, it's like me paying you to be on the Patreon stuff with the podcast content. So I'll give you guys. You're right. Ian, I'll buy you a Snickers bar every time.
Thank you. And I think I probably owe you at this point because, we buy each other things sometimes. I buy you and you bought me lunch a couple times.
So it sounds weird when he says I buy you but
Yeah, it's like a song. He's singing a song.
By the by.
my drink of choice is BAI, buy. If anyone ever wants to give that to me, I'll enjoy the clementine and then the watermelon. I think the blueberry and the coconut is disgusting, but it's the one that is in every 7-Eleven.
Every 7-Eleven, and that's the one I was trying to be. When I found that information, those were the ones that I had at 7-Eleven.
The only ones available.
So yeah,
He bought me the shitty kind.
I love that you're pitching for gifts because when you did your first documentary, I believe, I asked you for a copy of the DVD, and you gave it to me. I didn't have to pay. So I gave you Subway gift cards in return like a few weeks later because I knew you enjoyed them from the podcast. So
I once did an article in like FSM magazine in England, and I put I enjoy Lion bars in England. It's one of my favorite things. The next fucking show I did, I got 70 Lion bars, and I was like, I'm trying to watch my weight here, and I was like, now I got to eat 70 Lion bars, and I did, but now that's why I look like how I look.
it's torture.
oh, you look great. The women of Allentown, when you came over, I know we documented that a little bit. When you came over to do commentary, women of Allentown couldn't take their eyes off you. Yeah,
That's a song right there, the women of Allentown. All right, I got nothing else going. Gentlemen, we'll see you on the other side.
yeah. Thank you.
And fuck Jay Lethal. Well, I will not be seeing them twice a month, at least in August, because I'm going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and that will be told to you in the plugs and.
Upcoming events.
All right, the best way you can support ColtMerch.com, digitalcolt.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana, my Facebook /Colt Cabana. ColtWrestling@gmail.com is my very public email. Maybe you're a promoter and want to put me in your upcoming shows or conventions. I have a YouTube channel. I have a website, ColtCabana.com. I'll still have that P.O. box. You can send me some love. Upcoming, I'm just going to do the ones that I'll be podcasting with. And that's Sunday, July 28th, Tower, Minnesota. HeavyOnWrestling.com. That's up in the Duluth area. It's at a casino. It's a loaded show. And August 2nd through the 25th, every single night, 11 p.m., Edinburgh, Scotland. The Edinburgh Fringe Festival, thefringe.com, is where you can find tickets to reserve. Intro music is by the Ukulele Teacher on YouTube. Outro music by Superfun Yeah Rocket Ship. Podcast cover art designed by Jimmy Lee. Photo by James Musselwhite. Thanks to Tully Blanchard, Shawn Spears, Ian Riccaboni, Todd Sinclair, and no thank you to Jay Lethal, who refused to come on the show like many others in the past. Oh, you want a little Easter egg? I know I've talked about how Low Key didn't want to come on the show, and I didn't have anything bad to say against him, and then someone tweeted him, and then he said he had no respect for me, which I was like, oh, we were friends. We never had a falling out or anything. He's like, I don't respect him. So that kind of made me sad. Raven also refused to come on the show, which is weird because he always says how good of a wrestler I've become, and he's always just said such kind things. But he goes, I don't have anything to plug, so it's all right. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess, Raven, you won't be on the show. This was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. You know who has been on the show? One of our sponsors, highspots.com and the Highspots Network. They have a VOD service that is amazing. $5 wrestlings. When this comes out, that day I'll be filming a new one with Marty. There's also PWGs, Egos Amigos, AMA knee pads, gear, masks, even a wrestling ring. And when I was going and taking out all the ads of the old podcast to put on the Patreon, I was just listening over and over and over again about promoting High Spots. I've said they've been on board since episode 2. And I know very early I was opening the show with them, and then I've integrated them all over. And for the past fucking 9.5 years, Michael Bakikio has sent me some scratch. Not a lot, but he sent me some money. to promote High Spots. I believe in High Spots. I think High Spots is amazing. They really do have everything. They really are your go-to store for professional wrestling. And I say that when obviously another sponsor, Pro Wrestling Tees, is on board because I helped come up with it with Ryan over at 1 Hour Tees. And Pro Wrestling Tees does have a lot of stuff, but I mean High Spots, that warehouse, is just amazing. And those are our sponsors. And that is the show. I got a little choked up knowing that I'm finishing this one off. I'm doing the whole show, but I know it's coming to an end. We'll do next week. I do know I will be doing a live one from StarCast. I asked to do it Friday instead of Saturday. If you're a detective of some sorts, you could probably figure that one out. So I will be doing a live show on Friday. Saturday, I will not be at StarCast, but I will be at the Pro Wrestling Tees pre-show in the parking lot getting interviewed. So come to whichever one you want. I'm just say that because I'm saying that I'll still do some kind of podcast. I'm sure as long as there's StarCasts, I'll do live podcasts from the stage. I'll do the stage show. I enjoy doing a live stage show. And like I said, if there's enough Patreons, I'll do some old school interviews. People I've got in mind: Tully Blanchard, Shawn Spears, PCO will do one. I've been on the road with him. I've been digging him. He's a good one. He would have been so perfect back in the day. But it's not back in the day. It's the now, and we're moving forward. And that is the show for this week. This has been The Art of Wrestling for Colt Cabana. I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.